Hi, welcome back. In this class, we'll learn how to create classes and how to create objects from classes. Let us start with our code examples. Let us write a small class person. We must start with a keyword class and followed by the name of the class. Let us say person. The first letter must normally capitalized, but it is not a must. Then followed by a colon, and then the body of the class. We'll start with let us create a init class. Init class is like a constructor class, like an initializer. Let us create. We'll say it's a method. It's like a function. This is the syntax we have to use. This is the init, and followed by colon, parenthesis, and colon. And within this parenthesis, we have to pass the parameters. One is a self. Self is like a pointer to the object. That is like a reference to the current object. In some languages, they say as this. Here in Python, they say it's a self. Then followed by other parameter arguments, like in this, let us pass two parameters: age, name, and age. Okay, and then we say self dot name equal to name, and self dot age equal to age. This is like an initializer for the class. Whenever we create a class, whenever we create an object of a class, we'll pass these two, the name and age, and these are assigned to the these are object variables. These are object variables, means instance variables, and these are assigned to name and age. And that is one method, that initializing method. So whenever an object is created from a class, the constructor method is automatically called by the Python interpreter. And self, here self is the reference to the object. In some languages, this is also called this. Next, let us create another method. Define. Let us say create change age, and I say self. For all these methods, we have to pass the reference new age, or just say age, and colon. It's a simple method. Say self dot age equal to age. Using this method, we can change the age of the object. I mean, one of the attributes of the object. Then let us create another method called string method, toString method. This is how we can write. We say self. Whenever you print an object, this is the method called this toString method. Almost all the classes will have this method, toString method, to print whatever you want to print. Suppose if you want to print a object, this is what it's printed out. We can say return self dot name plus, let us put two dashes, and also let us print out the age string. You can put whatever you want in this, self dot age. Here, because age is a numerical field, I'm just converting to a string. Okay, so this is the basic class. It has three methods. One is a init method, change age method, and a toString method. Let us create a object out of this. I'll say P1 is a person, P1 equal to person. I'm creating an object by using the class person. I say P1 equal person, and I have to pass two parameters. One is the name, I'll say John, and I'll pass age as 20. Okay, then I can say, I can print, because I have a toString method in my class, I can say print P1. If I execute, let us see what I get. See, this is what is printed. This is from, whenever you do a print of a P1, this is the function, this is the method called. So this is what it is printed. Okay, and then let us create another object, another person. Let us say P2 and print P2, and give some other name. Let us give Gary. Gary is let us say 18, and if you print, if you execute this again, you get two lines of output. This is from the second object, and this is from the first object. We created a person class, and we created two objects, P1 and P2. We printed P1 and P2, and let us change the age. Let us change the age of P2. Let us say we can P2 dot change age. Let us pass 19 and print P2. So let us execute this one. See, we got 3. So Gary was 18. We changed the age. Again, we printed P2. Then we got age as 19. Here, the name and age, these are object variables. Object variables are visible only to its objects. For example, here we created two objects, P1 and P2. P1 doesn't know the age of P2, and similarly P2 doesn't know the age of P1, because these are all not shared variables. These are just only the objects can access these variables, whereas class variables are shared by all the objects of the class. Let us create a class variable. Class variables are more like a global variables. We have to here, let us create a class variable count and assign it as a 0. Let us create a counter. So whenever an object is created, we want to make sure that it is counted. Make sure that we increment this counter. Okay. For that, we have to change this code init method as a person dot count, because the count is a variable belonging to the class. Then we say plus equal to 1, means we will increment the counter. Also, we can write a method def. It says get count, pass self, and a colon, and return person dot count. So that is another method. It will give you the, once you call, when you call a get count, it will give the number of objects created. And in the execution part, let us change it. Let us run it here. Let us say print and say p1 get count, get a C is capital, get count, that will print the counter. Similarly, after p2, let us print it, and also after change age, let us print it. Let us say 2 and 2. Okay, if we execute this one, let us see what we get. So here is output. First we printed John. This is from P1. Then we printed the count. Count is 1 because we just created one object out of person. Then after creating the second one, Gary, then we got the count as 2. Then we changed the age of P2, and after that still the count is 2. So that is a class variable. Class variables are shared by all the objects of that class. Let us recap. We created a person class, and using that person class, we created two objects, P1 and P2, and then we printed P1 and P2. Whenever you do a print on an object, it will execute the string method, a toString method. Here in this toString method, we're just printing the name and the age. And finally, we changed the age, and again we printed out the object. And also, we added a class variable, is a count. So this count is like a counter. Whenever an object is created, we are incrementing this counter, and then we printed out the counter and all that. We'll stop here, and in the next class we'll see inheritance. Okay, thanks.